Can you give me a little introduction about yourself? Name, and your business.
Yeah, name's Nick Hancock. Business is direct outlet cleaning.
Excellent. So, Nick, first question here. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Little background on yourself.
Yeah, I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina. Lived, my whole childhood and really teenage years in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. So right off of Wilmington, right there. Yeah, so born and raised in the beach town.
Excellent. What were some of your favorite things to do as a kid growing up?
Yeah, I mean, very active in sports. I played football, basketball, soccer, kind of year round, like recreational, in all three of them. And so anything to do with sports, obviously, the beach was a big thing. Volleyball was another sport that we played a ton, right, because of the beach kind of vibes and everything. Um, and then for me, in addition to that, and we'll kind of get into this, I assume, but my dad ran his own business as well. So being able to just kind of pick his brain and talk to him was some of my favorite things to do.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, that was my next question. Were either your parents or are business owners? So your dad is a business owner. What kind of business?
Right. Well, I think my mom would be upset if I didn't say she was a part owner as well. But
Okay.
yeah, but because it's a family commitment. So my mom, she while she wasn't like in the day to day, she very much had an influence on the business, just on her husband, right, on my dad, and his mindset and work, etc. Um, it's actually the whole reason he got into business was because my grandmother actually told him like, "Hey, you need to get a real job and do something, legit and not under the table if you want to marry my daughter." And so that's what kind of prompted him to get on the path of owning his own business, actually. Um, but yeah, my dad had a mattress shop, and so he started off in the mattress industry out in Chicago, and they visited Wilmington their whole lives. As a vacation destination, and ended up wanting to move out there. 3 months after my brother was born in Chicago, my dad moved out there for 3 months and left my mom and my brother in Chicago. Um, and started up his own mattress business, which was called Beds Plus, and the rest is kind of history from there.
Okay. Awesome. And does he still own the business?
Yeah, so he's kind of transitioned. It's not necessarily Beds Plus anymore. It's all under direct outlet, and the business model is completely different. He at one point had up to 8 retail stores in North Carolina, South Carolina, and just the stress of all of it kind of ultimately made him want to switch models and do things just by himself, really. So now he just operates his own shop in Wilmington by himself, all by appointment.
Okay. Very nice.
Yep.
So when you were younger, did you always want to be a business owner? Did you want to do something in sports? What was kind of your dream when you were a kid?
Well, I realized very quickly my dream was to play a quarterback, but realized very quickly that how short I was, and the height requirements for typical quarterbacks, and also just the athletic ability, right? And so I realized that very quickly, and kind of just shifted my focus to not be fully on sports like I think most kids typically are at that age. So I was just picking up books that I could read about business, watching videos, just listening to quite frankly the millionaires and billionaires of this world on how they got to be where they are, right?
Sure.
And almost all of them, if not all of them, are business owners of some sense. So that was, I've always been financially minded, so that was something that was top of mind for me. I just want to provide for my family, even friends, etc., like down the line in my life. So yeah.
So you mentioned that with your dad and the mattress, you kind of transition to direct outlet, and now you have direct outlet cleaning. Are they both the same, or are they under an umbrella? Or
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, we're all under like the same family name, Direct Outlet. My brother actually is the one who came up with the name. So my brother has a mattress shop in Raleigh. My dad had one in Wilmington. My grandpa actually had one in Anniston, Alabama, and then I have one in Charlotte, North Carolina. In addition to the cleaning business, um, so we kind of independently operate our own, but we're all a collective whole. So we 100% own each location ourselves, but we work as a team, right? And we talk through all the
gotcha,
business stuff together. And when we go to vendors, we go as a collective group. Um, and then the cleaning is a separate venture. Myself and my brother are partners on, and we just recently really started that. Yeah.
okay. So with you and your brother, what was the reasoning for starting the cleaning company? Why did you start direct outlet cleaning?
Yeah, well, originally, honestly, I got into it by myself and realized very quickly that I didn't want to do it alone and I wanted to have a partner in it. And I thought of no one better than my brother to be with me, right, on it. But the thought process was um, I think that in a very general statement, services are in over demand and under supply, right? If you look at it from an economic standpoint, right? Um,
Right.
so, that was kind of the base of my thoughts. Also, we've been in sales for. I've been doing the mattress thing for 3 years. My dad's been doing it for 30. My brother's been doing it for 10 plus years. So I've seen hand in hand how it is to make a sale, right? Um, but with mattresses, it's not reoccurring in nature, right? It's 5 to 7 years on the short, like on the very best term, right? 4 or 5
Right.
bedrooms, and then that's really it. There's not as much referral business unless you get into the hotels, motels, etc., which is low margin, and you got to really have connections, honestly, to get the bigger deals done, right? So, so I just saw the heartaches and pain points of this business. There is in every business. There's pros and cons to every business. And then I always heard about the cleaning side of things, but it wasn't until I saw it like firsthand with my buddy who owns his own. He has about 3 locations right now, and he's expanding. And he kind of just showed me the ropes. Um, I kind of just took his playbook, so to speak, and wanted to replicate it and build out from there. But it was more so the
Excellent.
reoccurring nature of the business, and freedom more so, the ability to work from anywhere. Like I do this business remotely. That was the most appealing in comparison to my mattress business.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, that's all. When I do these interviews and I ask all these business owners what was kind of the driving factor, and that's always one of the biggest things is that at any point, if you, I'm in Chicago and I start something tomorrow, next year, if I'm bored of Chicago, I can move to Florida or
Right.
California or New York or Europe, wherever, and still keep
Right.
it and keep going. It doesn't have to be, live and work in the same spot. So,
Right. For
that,
instance,
that,
I literally just moved in the past 2 or 3 months now. I don't know. Time flies. But I moved from Pittsburgh back here to Charlotte, and it was a pain moving my mattress business and all that. Literally had to get like 2 semis full of my mattresses and you know all my stuff essentially,
right,
all items, etc. And with this cleaning business, I could be here, I could be in Wilmington, I could be in Antarctica, whatever. As long as I got some type of cell reception and a laptop, that's all I really need.
right, absolutely. Um, when you first started, when did you first start? When did you incorporate or you know?
Yeah, so, sometime it's been a blur, to be honest with you. It's sometime 2 months ago. What does that put you at? February, probably, like end of February, something like that. Um,
Okay,
I don't know. Honestly, the days kind of fly by. I've been just hitting the ground running, and that's that. Running two
Sure.
businesses is a task in itself. So, but and then I incorporated the move in as well. So not all the best timing, but I think every entrepreneur, when they get their minds set to something, the best ones just attack it full fledged and don't really make excuses, right? And so that's why,
Absolutely.
I don't think I've been as focused with, oh, this is my inception date and all this, the cuter stuff.
Sure.
I'm all about making sales and providing a great quality service to my customers first, right? The rest will take care of
So
itself.
at you're 100% right. So I mean, super fresh. I mean, we're fourth month into the year. We're in middle
Yep.
April, and so you just started 2 months ago. Do you vaguely remember how much you had saved up to invest, or what was your startup cost?
Yeah, well, fortunately, the mattress business has been very good to us. So the startup costs weren't a problem. I think I max put in like I want to just be conservative on the high end and say two
Sure.
grand max, which I mean, and not to say that's not a lot of money. I know it is to some people, but for me, having given the capital intensive nature of the mattress business, that was nothing for a startup cost.
Right.
For instance, the mattress business alone was, 30,000 to start up by itself, just to open up the doors. So yeah.
Okay. What's your experience and background? Did you go to school for business, or
Yep.
did you just
Yeah.
learn from your parents?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, I learned more from my dad, and I learned more from my dad about business and my mom about interpersonal skills and being a man than I you can ever learn from a 4 year institution. I think parents are the most underrated um, thing out there, right? Like quality parents will teach you far more than any education can. That's first
Absolutely.
off. But yeah, 4 year university, UNC Charlotte, here right in here, Charlotte, North Carolina. Went there for concentration in finance, minor in economics. So yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Switching over a little bit more towards the business side, um, have you hired anybody? If you have hired, I mean, besides obviously you have your cleaners, what does your hiring funnel look like, and what are kind of your best practices for hiring?
Yeah. So on the cleaning side, I assume, correct, right?
Yeah, or everything. I mean, if you have an office staff or anything, but just overall.
Yeah, mattress side, we do it all by ourselves to limit overhead. But the cleaning side, we just have cleaners right now. So I think we have. I guess it depends on the week because we've just been hiring like crazy. But I think we have 7 right now. Looking to get that up to about 15 probably within the next 2 months, just to fill capacity. Um, and then we're going to be hiring a VA as well here soon. But in terms of our hiring funnel, it's pretty simple. Indeed is really the major, really the only thing we go to right now to hire. Um, we've had good success, like really good cleaners come from it. So that's kind of where we go from there. And then I do all the interviewing and everything as well, and onboarding, test cleans with them, et cetera, from there.
Okay, so you do test cleans as well. Is it on your home, or is it a family member's home, or
No, just others out there. And we kind of have it too where, we'll send them out even to repeat customers and stuff we have. And then if there's a problem, our customers are like most customers are very nice in general, right? This clientele. So if there's any problems, we'll just send out, one of our higher end cleaners, right? That we know will do the job exactly the way we'll want it done the first time to take care of anything that needs to be done. So, um, yeah.
excellent? What are you? I mean, you're still so fresh with the cleaning business. revenue wise, I mean, you're
Yeah.
2 months in. What are your numbers?
Yeah, so first month, we had a hiccup second weekend, which with just like, and this is I think the biggest thing, and I've told this to some other friends who are getting into it as well, is you can't have too many cleaners. I relied heavily on like one clean air for the very beginning, getting started, and it really bit me in the rear. And so there was a week out of the whole month where we just had to cancel all cleans. And I was honestly worried that our weeklies wouldn't stay with us because we did already have weeklies at that point. Luckily, we kind of made it through that unscathed for the most part. But I think we did about 6.6 or 6.8 in revenue the first month. But I'm still frustrated because it could have been like 8, right?
Sure.
That first month. And then I don't, right now, this month is not over, obviously. I think we're at right around like 18 ish right now. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But we're right in that. I think I'll give a range of 17 to 19 in that range, just because I don't know the exact off my head. Um, but yeah.
So in 2 months, you've already cleared $25,000 in revenue and 7 cleaners. That is seriously impressive for 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 being 2 months old and already having over half a dozen cleaners and that much in revenue. You're moving, and that's great for sure. Um,
For sure. Yeah, I can't. I don't want to take all the credit. My brother's an amazing partner that's helped me. My buddy, who's done this as well, has been super helpful. And then obviously all the experience I've had these past 3 years running my own business, through the support of my dad, my brother, my mother even as well. That's it takes a lot to build something, right? It's not just an individual
Absolutely.
feat. So I don't want to sit here and say I'm the whole reason for all of it. I have amazing cleaners as well who want to work really hard. You can't accomplish it without everybody, right?
Right. But with you and your brother, you guys are a team, so you guys are
Yep.
clearly doing things the right way and hiring the right people and making the right moves because it's going clearly. Um,
Right.
with that revenue and with the amount of weekly recurring customers that you have, it's for sure great work.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Going towards what your marketing. Talk to me a little bit about your marketing strategies. What are some successful tips that you got for that, and what are some things that you are trying to avoid?
Yeah. In terms of marketing, I think people try and overcomplicate it, right? I mean, service industry is like unlike anything I see on the product side with mattresses, right? It's far easier, honestly, to obtain a client and to keep them long term in terms of what's your actual LTV on them, is far greater because of just currently where services are at, right? They're in such high
Right.
demand. So as long as you can fulfill, like, the number one thing as a global marketing strategy, just provide a great service to somebody. You might not make the margin you want to make on the first clean. So for instance, like us, we do deep cleans for people regardless, if they're a reoccurring customer the first time, because we want them to be super happy with where they're at. We're not worried about making money on the first clean. We'll make it on the back end, right? It's also
Right.
easier for us to maintain. In terms of tacticals right now, and this probably changes every year, but Google LSA is our main source right now. Angie's as well, and then we're experimenting with some others as well. Um, Obviously, you want to push away from paid, but right now that's how we're pumping through. And able, like, all I care about right now is just getting reoccurring customers, right? Having the
Sure.
one times
Absolutely.
pay for all the ads, etc., and all the overhead, like booking qual and other means tech stack that we use. But I think right now we're okay with paid ads because, quite frankly, that's what we've always done in the mattress industry, right? As long as we're getting the profit that we care about, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. And again, product versus service, two completely different businesses and
Yeah.
avenues where, like you said, you sell a product once. How many times can you sell the same product to somebody? I mean, mattresses are a little different because they wear down,
Right.
and again, it takes years for that to happen.
Years.
Or if they move to a bigger house, then sure you could get an extra mattress or two out of a in a guest room. But when it comes to a service, recurring is so much easier,
100%.
and a lot better for you. Less headache on trying to figure out
Right.
how many customers you need to get.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
on a broader statement, I think too often in business we try to overcomplicate things, right? Instead of just using basic common sense to be like, oh, well, this is a service that people need. They really want it, which almost turns into a need for some people, right?
right.
And they're willing to pay for it, which I think is the bigger hurdle, right? When you get people into a mattress shop and some other products as well, people know they need it, but they're not as willing to pay for it, right?
For sure.
And so I think that's a big thing when thinking about a business in general, right? Okay, yes, is it a need? Definitely. But are people more than willing to pay for it? Or is there some other way to make it where, you're not price restricted, right? Your prices over a 10 to 20 year period aren't going to go down, right, as compared to a more inflationary product or service. So,
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I worked for a furniture store here in Chicago that we
yeah.
sold mattresses as well. So I know a little bit of like customers coming in and, shopping around or having their reservations about
Yeah.
like certain mattress versus another one. But the craziest thing to me is that they were willing to spend like 3 grand on a bedroom set to make it
Yep.
look nice.
Yep.
But then they would be like, give me the cheapest mattress you got, and they're buying a $500 mattress. And I'm like, how is that disconnect? Like, you're
It's,
sleeping on something for 8 hours and you want the cheapest thing, but when you just look at it, you rather spend more money. I'm the
bingo.
opposite. I'll spend 5 grand on a Tempur-Pedic and
Right.
put it on the ground, and I don't care
Yeah.
what it looks like. I rather sleep well than
Right.
aesthetically look good, So
Yeah.
just a
Unfortunately, you're in the minority.
yeah, yeah. I learned that quickly too.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a lot
it's
of
it's
people
the
are like
old
that.
it's the old saying, keeping up with the Joneses, right? You want your place to
Absolutely.
look a certain way, and that's honestly part of why cleaning is successful, right?
Sure.
People want their house to be representative of a certain thing, right? Like this is what they care about, and so that's fine by me. You just got to find the businesses where people care and are willing to pay the money, because that's ultimately how you're going to have long-term success. And I'm not talking 5, 10 years. I'm talking 30, 40, 50 years being in business, right?
Right. And that's another thing with like you said, keeping up with the Joneses with a cleaning company. Your neighbors see, if you're a weekly customer, somebody showing up every week, pulling
Yep.
into their driveway and coming out with cleaning supplies and spending 3, 4 hours there.
Yeah, we already had
And
that happen. Yeah.
and the neighbors are like, you know what? Maybe I should do that as well. So now the neighbor is knocking on
Next door
their door.
neighbor. Yeah, next
Yeah.
door neighbors. I mean, that's what we've had happen. We literally had somebody that like we're cleaning her. We cleaned her last week, and she called us because she saw our cleaner show up to her next door neighbor, and they got to talking. And that's the best thing too. When you provide a great service, word of mouth will travel. And that's the hardest part.
Absolutely.
Then you got to keep up with it, right? And you got to continue to
Yeah.
provide that great service so you can expand not only your quality work, but your top line and ultimately your bottom line as a result.
Sure. Of course. Referral, word of mouth is
Beautiful.
probably
Beautiful.
the best marketing a business could have. It's free.
Yep.
It's
Right.
it's free. And if a family member or a friend is talking up your business, that's who else is better than a random stranger? Because like reviews work, obviously. Reading
Yep.
reviews is huge. But if I'm gonna talk to my sister or a
Yeah.
friend and be like, "Hey, I just had a cleaning from XYZ company. You need to
Yep.
try them out." Why wouldn't they? You know?
Well, that's and that's I mean, I know we'll get into this as well, but that's how I got into this service, right? Like with booking koala, one of my buddy who got me into it was like, "This is what you need to use." I didn't blink, think twice about it. I was like, "Okay, you recommend this? I'm going to use it." I recommended it on to one of my other buddies who's getting into it as well. I was like, "This is what you need to use." So that's exactly it. And that doesn't cost y'all anything, right?
Right.
So that's the best part. A great a great product or service at the end of the day will be referred on. It's just a matter of time, really. It's a
Right.
time game.
Yeah. That's the one variable you can't like put your eggs in a basket and be like, "Well, I know by this date it'll come back." That's the one thing you don't
Right.
know. But it's free, and the more it's nurtured, because if you keep seeing your family or your friend and you keep being, "Hey, did you try it yet? Did you try it yet?" It's gonna push them more faster to get to do it.
Right, and I think it's also too about how much more you expand your network, right, as well. So that's something we're doing. We're planning on expanding into multiple, cities within our state, and really expanding out so that we have more opportunities for people to tell others about us, right?
Right.
The more you don't, the more you become even a one-stop shop for people, right? To make people's lives easier. That's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about
Absolutely.
convenience. We're talking about making someone's life easier. Like I personally am not a cleaner myself, right? Like I want somebody to come clean my place. You're making my life easier. It's a stress in my life that I don't desire, right? So, that's the convenience factor. And so the more you can make somebody's life easier, the more they're willing to pay you, and ultimately the longer that LTV is going to last, and the bigger amount it will be.
For sure. Absolutely. So what makes you and your brother's company stand out from your competitors? What are you doing differently than everybody else?
It's gonna sound very stupid and cliche, but answering the phone very quickly. Complete
It's
being
it's
being completely
not
honest.
cliche. It's not stupid because what anybody watching this who doesn't who's getting started or is thinking about getting started. That's one of the most common answers that
Yep.
I have heard from business owners who either just started or have been in the game several years. It's the big franchises or the independent contractor that's just doing it themselves. If they're on a job, they can't answer,
Right.
and then they're taking forever. If you're a huge franchise, taking a long time to get through to everything. So,
Well, yeah, and I mean, think about it too, right? Some of these bigger companies are doing far bigger jobs, so they don't really care about the peanuts, right? But the peanuts are what can
right,
get you into business and get you rolling. So it makes sense once you start to think about it. You start to think about the commercial cleaning jobs out there, post construction cleaning jobs that are big dollars, right? You could do a couple of those a month and fill up all your cleaners, right? Depending on how big your staff is. So it makes sense when you think about it, but if you're small and just getting after it, I mean, the best thing you can do is have that phone in your pocket and answer at all times, no matter where you are, right? I mean, the
absolutely.
beautiful thing about our business is you can literally be anywhere and answer the phone. I've had times where I was, literally out eating or something with friends or getting a drink or whatever the case is, pick up the phone, turned into a weekly customer, right? So I mean, the customer on the other end doesn't care where you're at. They just want you to say, "Can you fulfill this service? What's the price? Right? When can we get started?" And
Right.
it could be a 10-minute conversation. Literally yesterday, I had a weekly. I was over at my buddy's house. A weekly customer called me. I didn't know they were a weekly customer. I just picked up the phone and answered it. Right, turned into a weekly customer. It took 10 minutes out of my hangout with my buddy, but I picked up the phone and it converted into another $800,000 a month. right? So it just compounds. But you have to be attentive. You have to answer the phone. Um, that's why, like my brother and I, we know when I'm not able to be on the phone, like answering, like right now, he's on, right? So he's got that. He's scheduled to be by his phone right now. So
Sure.
that's kind of how we want to it to make it work. But however it can work in your business, you have to be attentive to answering calls. I think in the service industry, it's a too common to not answer calls.
Yeah.
Um, we would always give my cousin crap. He's got a pool business, and he was just never. He'd admit it to like himself, like he was just never great at answering phone calls. And so much potential for new business coming in that it just blew our minds. Being in the mattress industry where we had to answer the phone to make money, right? We
Hmm.
didn't have a choice. So I think that was such a when you said like so quickly got up to that to that point. I'd say that those are the reasons why is because we ran this other business and really learned how to run a business right from the ground up.
Right.
Um, no seed money or all this other stuff, in today's world, right? No big
Yeah.
backing marketing firms, just our own bootstrapping, real small business, not multi-million small business, just real small businesses, less than 100K, right?
Right.
That's I think how you really learn how to run a business and how to do it effectively in any type of business. It all translates over, right? Um,
Sure.
Sales is sales no matter where.
Yeah. It just, what are you selling that's different? And what you're doing and what you and your brother are doing together, and not hiring a VA or, an office person right away to start fielding the calls and being available, 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever the hours may be. How do you know what objections you need to overcome or your VA needs to overcome
Right.
if they've never done it and if you haven't done it? So how are you supposed to teach them? So people who want to get started and, hire a VA right away to answer the phone calls and do all that stuff just because they don't want to do it. Sure, you can. Is it the best
It's
route
not
to
the smart
go?
move.
No,
Yeah, it's
it's
not the
not.
smart move unless you've done it, unless you've already had multiple locations open and you've gone through the pains
Sure.
already. Then I could see it making sense. Just from a time perspective, your time is worth more than that, right? But you need to know the pains of your business, right? You need to know, okay, they're going through XYZ. There's not a bazillion situations that can happen that you can't go through within the first 3 to 4 months of running the business.
Right.
I mean, those first couple of weeks were the toughest weeks ever in this business. I'd never dealt with employees, really. So that was a major thing, right? How do I deal with all these different situations? Excuse me. Now I've gotten to the point where it's all common for me, so it's no biggie really. I mean, yes, there's still that like, oh, if employee texts you, they're running late, or they don't know if they can make it to a customer. You're like, oh crap. But
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that like invigorates me. It makes it exciting. You don't know what you're gonna get. That's the best part about running a business is you don't know tomorrow is gonna look a lot different than today or yesterday or 5 days from now, right? That's the best part. If you're continuing to push yourself and build, it's a beautiful thing. It's unorthodox. It's different, than typical. It's not mundane and boring by any means.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I gotta ask this question to everybody. I don't know how much yours is gonna change here, but the time that you spent in the beginning, so 2 months ago versus now, are you at the same amount of hours? Are you less? Are you more? Or how many hours were you putting in then, versus now?
I'd probably say I'm more now, simply because we have a bigger team. But honestly, I'm always on, right? I think when I have a VA, I'll be off a little bit, but right now I'm always on. Now that could look anywhere. That could look at like a 10 o'clock call from a customer. God knows why they're calling at 10 o'clock, but they do.
Right.
It could look like a employee this morning calling me saying, "Hey, there was a flood. I don't know if I'm able to get to this customer's house, etc." Right? So, there's multiple things that could be. It could be like a customer calling me right this second, right? Like just happened. Um,
Yeah.
it could be anything, right? We'll hope my brother picks up that call. So, but yeah, I mean, so right now I'm always on, you know, because at the end of the day, like it might not be physically on like right this moment, like I didn't pick up that call. But if I wasn't on this call, I would have picked that up and been on for 15 minutes, whatever. Right. So I'm always available is what I mean by always on. I'm not constantly working every hour, but I'm always
Sure.
available. Right. And I think that's just a thing you have to be, when you're starting out your business. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're not going to fully succeed unless you have a VA on the other end, right? That's able to do it. For those people who are working a 9 to 5 job and then doing this on the side, totally understand it. You'll probably have to have a VA or a partner in the business that's able to be on when you're technically off,
Right.
because otherwise, if it's going to stack up, right? If you're paying for Google, etc., Angie's, whatever, and you're missing calls or you're not getting to the leads quick enough, that's a different thing, right? Messages come in or Angie requests come in. I'm trying to respond to those 10 to 15 minutes within when the email comes through or the message comes through, right? It's all about time, like speed. When you're
Right.
small, you have to be fast. Otherwise, you're just another one of these big maid services that honestly don't do a great job of getting back to people. And then you have no real competitive advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. The ones that take a while to respond, whether it's the independent contractor that's on a job and can't answer the phone for 2 hours, that customer that they're calling back more than likely already found somebody else and probably has booked, but
And you know
you
what the
won't know
cool thing is?
that.
Yeah, the cool thing is too. Some customers will, they'll book you even if you're a higher price because you answered quicker.
Yeah.
Because you were the first to get back to, or maybe you're the only person to get back, right? I've heard that countless times. I literally at this point tell customers who are like, I want a price shop. I'm like, okay, just letting you know, I know you want to get your cleaning done by this. I need to hear back by this date so that I can get you on the schedule. Otherwise, my schedule is going to book up. And I also know, just being completely transparent with you, that you might not hear back from two of those 10 customers or 10 cleaning companies that you called. And I'm just telling you this from what I've heard from other customers, right? I'll be quite transparent with potential customers and telling them that, just to set
Right.
expectations, right, with people. And then they'll call me back and be like, "Hey, I didn't hear back from anybody. When can you do it?" I've probably heard that about 10 to 15 different times. It's just the common nature where it's at. But
It's
to
about building that.
directly,
Go ahead.
just to directly answer your first question, um, I would say I'm doing more hours now, but with less headaches,
Okay.
which is
Excellent.
crucial. It's
Yeah.
crucial,
And the less headaches, the better. And anything, obviously,
right?
9 to 5 or your own business. So, well, my next question, which should have probably been a little bit sooner, but we already have the answer to, is it your only business? Which it isn't, because you have the
Right.
mattress company as well. Now, did you have any other businesses before these two? Do you have any plans to add more businesses later on?
I do have plans. I don't know if I want to reveal them all. That's just a personal thing.
Sure.
It'll be revealed with time. Just there's so many opportunities in the service space uh, to make your customers' lives easier, and anybody with common sense can kind of see all of them. The hardest part is executing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that part I won't fully answer. Just I don't like to be like a politician and not fully answer a
Well,
question.
you did answer. You said you have plans, but you're
Yep,
keeping them
yep,
tight to the chest. So that's
right.
totally understandable. Um,
my partner knows my plans, so that's all that matters to me. Um, but yeah, that was Mattress, my first business really ever. Um, I helped my brother. I got some. My brother did this college works painting in college as an internship. He got to basically run his own painting business for 3 to 4 months in the summer, and I was his lead guy. I was going door to door knocking, and that was my first real experience. Other than we worked for my dad, um, and got to see a lot of the ropes of that. I never got to sell though, so I never really got any real selling experience until the door to door knocking. And I'll tell you what, like I was 16 ish at the time, and that was like the biggest like come to Jesus that I had, of like, hey, this is tough stuff, and it's
yeah,
not always fun, but there's such a high, a non-drug high that I got off of hearing a customer say, yes, we'd like to get a quote, or yes, we'd like you to make a bid, or yes, we really want, at this point, a painting job that I couldn't match with anything else, right? No win in soccer, no Panthers football game I watched. Nothing gave me that same, just umph to my life in comparison, other than, just my faith, honestly. So that was the biggest tell for me. Like, hey, I want to do something with this. I know I can. It's just a matter of what, right? So I kind of backwards got into the family business, which is mattresses, and that has kind of opened up my eyes to, okay, this isn't the best business in the world, in my opinion, um, but it's a start. Now let's see where I can go from there.
right. One thing I did learn, uh, mattress margins are phenomenal.
They are, they are.
They're great. They're great. But again, there's a reason why they're so great is
There's
because
a reason for that.
it's a
Yeah.
one every 10 years somebody's buying that.
And there's a reason why you're conditioned to think you got to spend $5,000 on a Tempur-Pedic, right? They built up a
Right.
brand for you that you know of, and what you're talking about is going into a typical retail store, right? I won't mention the names because I don't want to give them free advertisement, but we can
Sure.
think of the big retail firms that have been around for the longest time, and a lot of people think are money laundering schemes, and
Yes.
you can think of all those. It's actually funny. My dad was really good friends with you guys are in Chicago, right?
Right.
My dad was really good friends with a guy out there, and I'm blanking on his name and the company name, but they had over 140 stores out in Chicago and surrounding parts out there. So it's funny the connections. He was actually on as their VP of sales at one point. So they sold out to one of those bigger firms that we can all probably guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's interesting to think about like the psychology of it all, right? When I mean, I knew exactly where you were going when you said Tempur-Pedic and then you said 5,000, right? I can think of how advertisements, etc., have been morphed into just your life, right, as well.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating stuff when you think about it, just on a very basic level. I don't think anybody has to overcomplicate things.
For
On a
sure.
very basic level, who's been spending the money to have that thought in your head, so that when you go to mattress shop once every 7 years, you do it and you hopefully land on their product.
Right. The whole psychology of selling is
Yeah.
and marketing is that's huge in
Yep.
whatever anybody does, whether it's a lemonade stand or running a cleaning service.
Right.
So, where do you see? I don't know if you've talked to your brother about this, but where do you guys or yourself see the business in the next 5 to 10 years? The cleaning service.
Yeah, hopefully in multiple states. Hopefully, the bigger states, the business friendly ones, I would say, and ramping up to. I mean, shoot. I mean, I want to be to a point where there's 300, 400, 500 cleaners, right? Um, with other additional things and service, etc. Um, and then, whatever it is, 10 years, 15 years down the line, hopefully public one day. That's kind of my bigger, broader goals. I'm 25. I got plenty of time, right? So, um,
Absolutely.
that's kind of where I want to be long term. I think you have
Sure.
to I think you have to have goals that stretch you. Otherwise, what's the purpose, right? And also, what's your why behind what you do? Mine personally is my faith and my family and friends. Um, my faith and the ability to be able to give back to others. I went to Uganda twice, and I got to see just the happiness on people in a third world country with the lack of resources. My desire is to you can buy a half an acre land out there for $300, 300 US dollars.
My gosh.
My desire is to buy 100 acres and then be able to give it back to the philanthropy that we use out there, which I'm obviously blanking off the top of my head. But those are all like those are many whys in my journey. And so when I think about my long term vision, right? Um, because in business, it's not like a sport, right? I have friends who are in pro athletics. They have a finite amount of time, right? 10, 15-year career if they're lucky, right? Quarterbacks, 20 years if they're lucky. Tom Brady, et cetera, is like the extent of that.
Yeah.
Um, business, you can go till you're 80, 85, 90, until, I mean, look, Charlie Munger is 94, 95 or something like that. Warren Buffett's like 89,
Right.
90. Two of the most influential businessmen in the world, right? Operating with billions upon billions of dollars at that age. So that's for me. I'm like, well, why? What's stopping me from being able to ultimately achieve some success like that, and then have a greater impact on those around me and those whose what impacts I think I'm called to make, right? So that's kind of what drives. I think you have to think about what drives you, because if it's just a chip on your shoulder or somebody said something about you, et cetera, that only goes so far. I'll give a story to that. When I first when I first started out the mattress business, I was back home learning from my dad. Actually, the circumstances are pretty nuts. COVID just happened. I ended up getting laid off. It wasn't because of COVID. It was just because I sucked at my job personally. Um, and quite frankly, like it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Um, you know, um, Not only from a financial perspective and stimulus and all that stuff at that time, but from a well-being status in my life and also my future. I hated my job at the time, but I was doing it because I thought, I'm going to be the one to not be in the family business. I'll figure it out in line, but I don't want to do it, et cetera. Well, long story short, I went back home, got to spend extra time with my grandmother before she passed. That's invaluable. But then I also learned the mattress business through my dad, and my dad wasn't too happy with my progress in learning the business. As some dads can be, they can be a little tough. And there was a time where my vice is watching movies, is shows, etc. So he saw me one day just sitting on the couch watching, and he didn't say anything to me there. But then I was up in my room and I overheard him talking to my mom, and he called me a couch potato. And it lit a fire under me, right? And I said, okay, watch this. So I put a reminder in my phone to text my dad in a year, and basically, said some not so nice words, but hey, look at these numbers. And it really did fuel me for the time, right? but once I hit those numbers, it was only so much. Is my point, right?
Right.
It only lasts for so long, and then ultimately like that burns out, right? And so you have to have something that you're truly passionate about, or you can get behind, right, in some form or fashion. It doesn't have to necessarily be the product or service that you're selling, but maybe it's about the people who you're providing for that are cleaners for you, right? I take tremendous pride in that some of my cleaners, on the pace they're on, will make 50 to 60K in a year just from cleaning for me, right? Like that's tremendous, right? That's, I mean, that's for
Yeah.
the cleaning occupation, that's very well. Um, so I think you have to, with any type of vision, or any type of plan forward, right? You're guiding your ship. You have to have a clear picture of where you want to go, so that when the waves hit you, you don't get knocked all the way back and you're drowning, right? And you
Right.
don't see why you're doing what you're doing. It's my long answer. Apologize.
No, no apologies needed. That's excellent for sure. Um, so when you first started, I guess, well, you already mentioned that you had a buddy who
Yep.
I believe has a cleaning service as well, and he brought you on to us. So
Yep.
you did you look at anybody else 2 months ago, software wise, or were you like, okay, since you're using it, I'm using it, and that was kind of the end?
Yeah, I trust my friend well enough. He was successful enough for me to wholeheartedly trust him and everything. Now, listen, we've made tweaks where we saw fit after running the business, but booking
Sure.
quality not one of them.
Okay. And how long has your buddy been using us for his business? Do you
Yeah,
know,
well,
or
for all three of his locations, he uses Booking Koala, and he's been doing it, I think, a little over a year now.
okay, excellent. So, I mean, my next question was what drew you into us and why, but I mean, it, answer's already there. Your buddy told you about
Yeah,
us, and
yes and no. I think there's more to it. The simplicity of it as well when using the functions, right? Like if it sucked, I would have told him like, "Hey, this sucks. I'm not using this," right? Um,
sure,
quite frankly, um, I think also to build up that type of software, I'm sure costing thousands to do alone. And it was already, you could tell it was already built for cleaning companies, right? And I know there's obviously more functions for other companies as well, but it was just so seamlessly built, like you knew it was built from a founder who had gone through the pains and trials, which is what honestly was such a reminding factor and why I haven't changed. 2 months in, we can easily change. I'm sure there's other competitors out there. We just don't care to, right? Um,
right.
it's built, you know, it's built in a way which makes my life easier, which is why I'm still using it. It's making
And
my life easier.
that's absolutely wonderful to hear, and that's what we wanted from day one. Is make this so user friendly for the business owners, for the service providers and the customers, and just making it seamless, easy to use, and get you hooked where you don't want to leave, even though you can.
Right. Right. And don't get me wrong, I think there's stuff that they can add to make it even more a one stop shop, for all needs. But in terms of the day to day, I think it's a necessity for a service business. Just from what I've heard from others who use other things, I think it's definitely the best. Obviously, everything has uh, ability or room for improvement, right?
Yeah.
But where it's currently at, I'm more than satisfied, and honestly, that's why I recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it if I wasn't.
Excellent. So, what are one or two of your favorite features in the software?
Yeah, I mean, number one, because I like making money, is the ability to book the book right there, right? Um, I mean, I don't have to go through any hoops. I can literally go from first name to credit card all in one stop, right? That's my favorite feature because other than that, I don't make any money, right? Um,
Right.
so, and then I'd probably say, from an organization standpoint, which is something I lack horribly, my brother, my partner, would happily tell you I'm not an organized person. My ADHD has put me all over the place. That's how this conversation has went because of me. Um, but the calendar is crucial as well. Being able to see, okay, these are all the days, these are the reoccurring cleans that we have. Okay, now I just need to assign cleaners to all of them. Life changing, right? I can't imagine, and I don't want to ever imagine. So we'll just keep providing y'all with customers so that y'all never run out of business or anything like that. But
We don't.
Right. But we want to make sure that it's going great because I can't imagine going without, the calendar view or and having to figure out how to do all that, honestly, the back end so my cleaners know exactly where they're going, the number, etc. Um that's you know beyond me, how anybody operates a business without that. And then booking customers is has to be a nightmare without a software like that. So um, those are probably the two biggest, and then the reports, being able to see my one-time breakdown, my weekly breakdown, instead of having to put it all into an Excel sheet and all that. Seeing it all right there, crucial.
Awesome. Going a little bit back on your to your competitors, when you were kind of going through just to check out the competition in your area, how many actually have a book online feature or something similar to this?
I'll be honest, I'm horrible at this kind of stuff.
Okay,
I don't focus on my competitors much at all, to be honest with you. I think at the end of the day, too often people do get focused on competitors and instead of
absolutely.
focusing on their product or their service. And this is a debate I have within my own household. So that's how it is. It is what it is. But I'm the worst person I know there's hundreds of cleaning companies out there. I don't worry myself with it. There's a reason why people are calling me still, so it is what it is. But I continually look at our business and how can we be customer centric and focused to offer the best service and ultimately make our people happy and make money, right? That's all I care about.
That's that should be what anybody cares about when they're a business owner,
Yep.
just growth and making sure everything is the way you want it and everybody's happy. So
Yep.
what's one feature that I mean kind of correlates with the last question, but what's
Yeah.
one that you couldn't live without? Would it be the calendar? Would it be, the whole booking form itself, or
Booking
is
form.
there?
Yeah, you can't live without a booking form like that. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but I feel like they would be a little too complex, not go all into one system that, goes into a calendar, that goes into your reports, etc. Um, yeah, the booking form, I mean, that's how you make money. Without money, your business has no oxygen, it can't breathe.
Right, absolutely. What is what's one feature you wish we had and why?
I wish there was a way for it to be a one-stop shop so I don't have to use companies like Intuit, etc., for all my expenses and all that crap. Um, so where it could be integrated, so it's just seamlessly, hey, I come here for all my business, right? Like if I wanted it, like it's tax season, right? So if I could bring in all my expenses, etc., into Booking Koala because it already has all my revenue, and then if I could integrate that with what I pay out my contractors, etc., all of that, um, and it's just seamless and easy, right? Then I
Sure.
have a one-stop shop for all all my reports that I need. The only other thing that's a little uh, difficult is, there are some sales and use taxes for some states, right? Like the one I'm in. So that is tabulated into my revenue, which it's I don't make money on that. That's Uncle Sam's money, right? So
Right.
I don't personally, and maybe that's just me. There might be something that I need to learn there. Which, by the way, I can't say this enough. The customer service that Booking Koala has is unbelievable. In a world where customer service is horrific, right? And you're talking to someone in a third world country 24/7, and they never really fully satisfy all your needs. Um, Booking Koala is awesome. Now, some people might be worried, like, oh, I can't pick up the phone and call. I mean, they answer an email within the same day, no matter what. I mean,
Right.
and I can say this because they can bring up the logs and see how many times I've used their customer service already, and I'm only 2 months in. So that might just be something I need to recommend to them, honestly, because they're always listening to my recommendations, anything I need, pain points, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have a feature request that you want to get added in, we are
Yep.
always listening, whether you put it in the Facebook community group or you send it directly to us in an email. We always mark it down and we always put it in our feature request sheet that we have internally. And we always discuss these things. So that's definitely something I I strongly recommend that you do anytime, no matter how big or small you think it is. Send it over to us so that we can
Right.
keep track of it, how we could get that implemented.
Right, because it all adds up at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned about calling. We do have a customer support line that anybody can call. It's just not always. Sometimes it's booked up. There could be a
Gotcha.
bunch of people calling at one time, so that's you could leave a voicemail or message, and we'll get back to you for sure. But
Gotcha.
like you said, email, we always try and get responses back within as fast as possible because, like we know, you guys are running a business and you
Right.
need it to be right so that you can be successful in what you do. Only way
Right.
we're successful is if our business owners who use us are successful. So the
Yep.
faster we are, the better you guys get.
Yeah.
Last question here. For anybody who is, where you were at a few months ago, thinking about starting something, kind of on the fence, what's some words of encouragement or something you would give them to, finally jump off the fence and be like, all right, I'm doing this?
Yeah, and I'll say this with some caution. I don't think everybody should be in business. I think you need business owners and you need employees, right? But I will say
Sure.
for those who have always believed that they can do it, I told this to my other buddy. You need to make that step, and you need to figure out what's going to take you from being a entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, right? Whether that's the people around you, whether that's finally taking this step. There's no better time like the present. You can make excuses till you're blue in the face. Ultimately, those who are legit, right, real business owners, take action. Action over talk all the time. Do as you say you're going to do, not as otherwise,
Talk
right?
about it.
So, right, don't just talk about it, be about it. And so that's, I think, the biggest, like, real, call to action that you can give somebody is, hey, don't just be somebody who talks about this and that and that and this. Actually be about doing something, right? You don't have to be the smartest tool in the toolkit, right? Like, you don't have to be the sharpest thing ever. I'm a mattress guy at heart, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning's not superly complicated either. It doesn't take, you don't have to be a Harvard alum or a Yale alum or whatever. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to make real money in this world. You just got to be able to work hard, put on a great smile, come to work every day and figure out how you can get better, and ultimately have a decent personality where customers want to talk to you, right? And they want to give you their business, right? So And that starts with just being nice over the phone, asking them how their day is, how's the weather, etc. Like just little things that go a long way. And they're remembering little things about them. How many kids they got, is it their birthday coming up? They got a party they celebrated, whatever the case is, and asking them, being really genuine about their lives, right? And showing you care. Caring is such a lost art in this world. So the more we can show people that it's a human to human interaction instead of some AI BS, right?
Yep.
Is ultimately what's going to push you forward. But I would say if you're on the fence and you've always believed that you can do it, there's nothing like investing in yourself. It's better than any stock return. It's better than anything else you can do. Go invest in yourself. And in worst case scenario, you can look back and say, I lost $2,000, or worst, I lost 10 grand, whatever the case is, but I tried, right? When you're 80, 90 on your deathbed, are you going to look back and say, oh, I never tried, right? Like I never gave myself an opportunity. And honestly, like even if you end up being an employee still down the road, like it's so much more appealing to an employee of people who actually tried, or to an employer of employees who actually tried something different, because you have more experience, you have more relatability with the owner, what's going to make you a better employee, right? So
Absolutely.
there's so many different reasons why to, but I think the biggest thing is belief in yourself, having the confidence to stick up for yourself. It's not going to be easy. Don't think it's going to be easy, because if you're reading some BS on the internet that's telling you that it's going to be, rainbows and flowers and it's going to be the best easiest thing in the world, you're sadly mistaken, and the real world's going to punch you in the mouth, and you're going to find that out. I mean, I found that out 2 weeks into the business, right? My employee dropped on me, ghosted me, and I had to cancel a whole week's worth of cleans. So it's not easy, but is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth it to you and where you want to be in your life? For me, it's by far 100% worth it. But you have to make that determination for yourself, and then you have to be able to have the confidence and the ambition to go and just do it.
Absolutely. And not everybody is going to be, wanting the same thing. Not everybody wants it to be like, well, I want $5 or $10 million out of this business. Some
Right.
people want to do it just to get by, or an
Yeah. Know your
extra
goals.
side hustle. Yeah,
Know your
that's
goals.
exactly.
And strive for that. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Don't get in this comparison game of, oh, I want to be like X, I want to be like Jenny and Joe over there. Just be you. Be the best Nick you can be. Be the best Mike you can be, right?
Right.
And that's all that matters,
Absolutely. I mean, there are people who could sign up who want to, be their own contractor. They could do their own cleans and make 6 grand a month by
Right.
themselves, like
Right.
working Monday through Friday and still have the weekends off. And you could do anything you really want with this business. But like you said, you kind of have to. You not kind of. You have to want it, and you have to just get over any of those hurdles and be willing to keep learning. That's the big.
Yeah, you got to stick it out 3 to 4 months to see if it's worthwhile, right? And if you can do it. That's the biggest thing. You got to be able
That's
to give yourself some leeway to figure things out. You're not going to have it all figured out in the first month. I've had success quicker than from others than what I've heard from others, simply because I got a great team around me, but also I have experience running a business. Experience is invaluable. It's why you don't. It's why there's plumbers that you pay $100 an hour and some that you pay $300 an hour. Right? You're paying for that experience.
absolutely
Paying for them to do the job the right way the first time.
100%. Nick, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and for your answers here. I hope anybody watching this who's on the fence or kind of sheepishly figuring out what they want to do with their life. Hopefully, this helps them, kind of answer some questions and get over some hurdles.
Right. Yeah. I mean, be encouraged. I think you have all the abilities you need to accomplish it. It's just a matter of putting the time in being patient, trusting in your ability, and just getting after it. Honestly.